What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the RGVSports.com football podcast. My name is Bryan Ramos.
And I'm Ivan Palacios. We're 2 weeks into the season, Bryan. I mean, things are starting to pick up. Some teams are surprising us. Some teams are, not disappointing, but, it's leaving some question marks on the field, man.
Yeah, week two definitely brought some fireworks with it, man. We saw some programs that have not had much success get off to really good starts here to the 2024 season. We had some upsets on a major scale, and we had some movement here in our RGVSports.com top 10 rankings in the Rio Grande Valley following an electric week two, Ivan. And we'll start right there, guys, to recap the week two action across the Rio Grande Valley. And as always, we'll start with the RGVSports.com game of the week. Last week, Ivan, the Tri-City Classic, the PSJ High Bears hosting the PSJ North Raiders at PSJ Stadium. And PSJ North Raiders win their fifth straight over the Bears, the 21-11 victory at PSJ Stadium. It was a hard-fought game. Both of these teams played even, played tough for the opening quarter, and then PSG North kind of found some rhythm and found their run game. Ethan Guerra runs for 221 yards and a touchdown in the win. Then PSG North defense holds PSG High to just over 200 yards of offense. And Ivan, we know how good and how electric this PSG High spread offense is with Miles Lopez and a bunch of weapons out on the perimeter. So really impressive performance from PSG North as they win their 22nd consecutive regular season game and fifth straight in the rivalry over the PSG High Bears. So big way to start off week two with a rivalry win there, Ivan. And we had another big-time rivalry game there in week two, there in the Lower Valley, as Harlingen High and Harlingen South collided.
Every time these two teams meet, it seems like it's a very physical, very electric game. I believe I showed up there about an hour and a half before kickoff. Nowhere to park already. That just seems like the whole city was out there for that one. And they didn't disappoint. I mean, Harlingen High comes out with the win, 29-24 over their cross-town rivals. I think that's 27-4 or 28-4 overall against Harlingen South. And it was a good one. 3 combined safeties. You don't see safeties that often in the game, but 3 combined safeties between these two teams. The star of the day once again was Harlingen High running back Noah Huerta, though. He runs wild, over 244 total yards, 4 total touchdowns. Really powered that Harlingen High offense to that victory. Lots of big plays on defense led by Sterling Tomlin, too. And just an electric. I mean, anytime you're there, those rivalry games featuring Harlingen, whether it's against South, Battle Leroy, it's always electric, man. The crowd loves their football there in Harlingen, and they didn't disappoint in this one. A big win by Harlingen. They start the season 2-0, and I think they're starting to pick up steam, but early on, it's just the biggest question mark is that passing game, which, we'll dive into that a little more when we go over our rankings. But Harlingen High with the huge win over Harlingen South to start the season, or to start the season 2-0 last Friday there at Bogus Stadium in Harlingen. And, aside from that, we had some other big games across the valley this last week, Bryan. I mean, some big streaks came to an end this year.
Yeah, we'd like to just give a congratulations to the Progresso Red Ants and the La Jolla Waters-Lincoln Huskies for snapping 34 and 35 game losing streaks respectively here in week two. I mean, they put in the work just like everybody else. The kids show up and they grind. The coaches show up for their kids and they grind. And hey, man, you know what I mean? It's good to see them get in the win column and some losing streaks. Just really good to see for those programs, those schools, those communities. I mean, just your thoughts on Progresso's Progresso did it in a big way with the 48-0 win.
Yeah, man. I mean, Progresso, it's a program that's struggled since COVID. They hadn't won a game since 2019. They didn't play that 2020 setting. They're one of the schools that did opt out that year. So it's been kind of a process to get back to this. And, they came out and they blow out Rivera Call for 48-0. Huge performance. I'm sure everyone was there was ecstatic just to get that monkey off your back, get that first win that, has been a long time coming for them. Den Garza with the huge performance there, 10 carries for 120 yards and 4 touchdowns. Overall, huge day for the running game there at Progresso. 355 rushing yards, 7 rushing touchdowns, and huge win for them. Shout out to Progresso, the Red Ants. They deserve it. They worked hard, like you mentioned. COVID wasn't kind to a lot of these teams. It brought teams down a notch. Teams that already have problems getting players out on the field, already struggle to get those numbers out there. Imagine that. You can take a whole year of no football. So, congrats to the Red Ants. They've battled hard and they've taken that next step. Now it's where do you go from here?
Absolutely, yeah. And same for La Jolla Waters-Lincoln. I mean, just a couple years ago, they were on the other side of it. Donald Norris snapped their long losing streak against La Jolla Waters Lincoln. Now 2 years later, the Huskies snap a 34-game losing streak against Don North with a 28-21 victory, and you got to give credit to the entire Huskies program. Coach Daniel Cortez there, his first win as a head coach, and what a way to do it, snapping that 34-game losing streak. Ramiro Olivares had over 100 yards and a score in the win, and dual threat quarterback John Menchaca accounts for close to 150 yards and 2 total touchdowns. And then scoot up for that Huskies defense, man. Four interceptions to pull to steal that victory and end that losing streak. So just a really big performance there from the Progreso Red Ants and La Jolla Waters Lincoln Huskies to end those losing streaks. So congratulations to both teams there in week 2, and best of luck moving forward here in the 2024 season. Now we move on to some other big games here. Ivan, we had some sub 5A superpowers, man, kind of squaring off. Port Isabel and Rio Hondo just locking horns. You were at that game, Ivan. Your thoughts from seeing it up close and personal?
Yeah, man. I mean, Port Isabel came into the game ranked number 2 in our rankings. Rio Hondo came in at number 3, and it was a very physical game. As you would expect from a Port Isabel type game. Weather wasn't so kind either. First 3 quarters kind of blew a drizzle. Fourth quarter it came pouring down. I don't think any team could move the ball there in the fourth quarter. Fumbles left and right. But Port Isabel was able to grind that out. Rio Hondo had a chance to win it their last 10 seconds. They set up for a 40-yard field goal to win the game. Fortunately, it was a little wide to the left. Sends it to overtime. They kick a field goal to start the overtime. Rio Hondo does take that 24-21 lead. But the next play, Luis Ramos breaks free for his 3rd touchdown of the game to give the Port Isabel that victory. And I talked to Tony V after the game. He's like, "We're made for this kind of game. We have that mud offense. They want to play in those dirty, physical games." And Luis Ramos got it done. Over 200 rushing yards, three rushing touchdowns, including that game winner overtime. Big loss for Rio Hondo, though. They do lose Kean Lopez for the year to knee injury. I'm not too sure the specifics of it, but huge loss. He was in our top 30 player rankings going into this season. So, shout out to him. For a heck of a career here at Rio Hondo. We've got a chance to see him over the past couple of years, and just an athlete. And sorry that it ended the way it did. Best of luck to him in the future, though. But
yeah, he's super stud on the football field and on the basketball court. And Ivan will bounce back and forth, recapping week 2 action. McAllen Memorial picks up a 45-38 shootout win over Westaco High. Receiver Michael Alaniz, 7 receptions, 297 yards, 4 touchdowns. Pretty impressive. Westaco High quarterback Frankie Trevino, 211 passing yards, 94 rushing yards, and 4 total touchdowns for the Panthers to turn that one to a shootout there in McAllen. So the McAllen Memorial Mustangs improved to 2-0 overall, Ivan, and now that leads us into. But before we get into another the biggest games that we had here and biggest results that we had in week 2, we got to give some love to a few programs that are off the 2-0 starts. Something that that hasn't been done in a few years at some of these programs. So let's just run down the list, Ivan. I mean, Edinburgh Economides 2-0, Ed Couch Elsa 2-0, Brownsville Pace 2-0, Brownsville Lopez 2-0, and La Jolla Palmview 2-0. So I mean, just your thoughts on those a few of those programs, Ivan, off to good starts here to this season.
I mean, it's good to see. These programs are some that might have struggled in recent memory. You got teams like Economides that went through a couple coaching changes over the past couple of years. So see them start so hot. It's great for that program. It's great for the kids. It makes more kids want to play, I'm sure. And you got Ed Couch. I mean, they look legit this year. That defense has been lights out. You got teams like Pace and Lopez, where Brownsville's notoriously known for being a soccer school. Or soccer schools, but these 2 teams, I mean, they got some studs out there. Adrian Salceda out there running back. Lopez got Eddie Slovak back there. It's like running back he over in BISD now. So.
Yeah, he got some real ballers over there, man.
And of course, you mentioned Palmview too. So it's good for the Valley to see these programs on the rise, and I think it's only going to bring up the level of competition across the Valley too.
Yeah, so just really good starts for those teams. So congratulations to those teams on your starts, and best of luck moving forward as we continue on through the 2024 season. And Ivan, as we round out the week 2 talk, I mean, I don't think there was any other more a bigger result, a more not necessarily surprising result when you look at these teams. But Ivan, one of the biggest games we had here in the Valley, pitting a sub 5A power up against a team that's coming off just a historic run there, and that is now at the 6A level.
Yes, I mean, you have Brownsville St. Joseph going into hostile territory at Charger Stadium. Then you play at Samson Memorial. Brownsville Vets loves playing there at Charger Stadium. St. Joe's goes into there and stuns them 41-21. on their own home court. I'm sure, it's a hostile environment. I went there for a soccer game last year, and it looked, packed to the brim. I can only imagine how this one was. And, St. Joe's, like you mentioned, a powerhouse at that sub-5A level. They're ranked number 1 in our rankings, and Brownsville Vets came in ranked number 2. And St. Joe's pretty much beat them at their own game, over 400 rushing yards on the day. They didn't really go through the air. 6 touchdowns on the ground, and it's just impressive for this team. I think we had high expectations of them coming into this year. 3 of their players were ranked inside of our top 30. And, to come in and beat a team like Brownsville Vets that's coming off the run they did, yeah, they lose some talent, but this is still a 6A program that's been among the best. They've been on the rise here in the Valley.
Mm-hmm.
So for St. Joe's to go out there and do it, it's impressive. I mean, what are your thoughts on all of it?
Yeah, so Brownsville Veterans, obviously just one of the best teams over the Valley, especially coming off last year, historic run to the state semifinals there. They move up to 6A, and Brownsville Veterans look dominant as ever there in week 1, 34-3 win over PSG Memorial. And then Brownsville St. Joseph, people maybe see the school, maybe the 20-point margin maybe catches some eyes, but when you look at this Brownsville St. Joseph team and the players they have back with experience that play on both sides of the ball, that can contribute and are big-time players at both offense and defense, it's like, hey, well, I mean, maybe it shouldn't be so surprising when you look at this Brownsville St. Joseph team, because they really do got players everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Brownsville Veterans, we know how good they are. Last year they lost two regular season games, still went on and did great things there in the playoffs and in district play. So this is just another hurdle for them to get past, and I have no doubt that Brownsville Veterans will do. But yeah, I mean, Brownsville St. Joseph takes it to them, and they deserve all the credit in the world, man, for going toe to toe and scheduling this Brownsville Veterans team.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
they met last year and came out on the wrong side, and to come back 1 year later and get some payback and even that score says a lot about this Brownsville St. Joseph team.
Yeah, I mean, to carry off of that, I mean, we got to give a big shout out to our RGVsports.com player of the week for week 2, Claudio Torres, over from Brownsville St. Joseph. He did everything. Over 200 total yards, I think at 276 total, 204 rushing, 76 receiving, something like that.
Wow.
4 rushing touchdowns. On defense, 7 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 2 forced fumbles, and an interception. I mean, all he didn't do was kick the extra points. That's all that was missing at that point. But I mean, I'm sure he gives a huge shout out to his O-line too. And again, congratulations, Claudio. And we actually had a chance to sit down with our player of the week, Claudio Torres, and his head coach, Tino Villarreal, for an interview over at St. Joe's. What's up, guys? This is Ivan Palacios from RGV Sports. I'm here with head coach Tino Villarreal, our RGVsports.com player of the week for week 2, Claudio Torres, and my co-host Bryan Ramos. Guys, how y'all doing today, man? I mean, y'all are coming off that big win last week.
Good. I mean, we just finished practice. I think that a big win like that deserves a good encore. So we're worried about trying to beat Corpus Christi Carroll.
Claudio, how are you feeling, man? Huge game for you last week. I mean, what are your feelings coming into this one?
I mean, it's good. It was awesome, but I think it's over. Like, we're looking forward to next week in Carrollton on our mind right now.
And then let's take it back to this past week, Coach. Was there anything leading up to that big win? I mean, a 41-21 win over Brownsville Veterans on their home field for a TAP school, Brownsville St. Joseph, to go in there and play with the big dogs in 6A, Brownsville Veterans, after reaching the state semifinals last year. What was that lead up to that game like for you? And did you see anything different, or did you feel like you guys would be ready with that week leading up to the game?
Well, we've always been the small school that plays with our chip on our shoulder, regardless of who we're playing. It doesn't matter. We're playing a Raymondville, Port Isabel. Any school we play is going to be bigger size than us and have more players on their roster than we do. So we've always embraced the mentality of the underdog. We always go into a game as if it's the Super Bowl, because it's our Super Bowl. Every game's our Super Bowl. And so this one just makes it extra special because the kids know each other. So Claudio and his friends, they go to the same parties as these kids. And so it's bragging rights, inner city rivalry. It's a rivalry weekend. And so we just knew going in that we were just going to have to play real hard. We know that we're going to be undermanned. But with the 11 players we can put on there, we knew we were not going to be undersized. Mm-hmm. And so we did know that we had a good opportunity to go down there and reestablish kind of a new mentality in because we're usually a finesse team, and we just felt that with the size we had, we knew that they're going to try to double team this guy. So I'm like, well, if I put him in the backfield and I just run behind the line, there's no way to double team him. And so we executed the game plan we thought we could do, and it ended up working out.
Awesome. And
Claudio, for you, I mean, what was the feeling heading into this week? I mean, did you expect a game this, of this caliber from yourself? Over 200 rushing yards, 70 yards through the air. I mean, 7 tackles, interception, 2 forced fumbles. I mean, list goes on and on, man. I mean, did you do anything different leading up to this one, or what was the feeling going into this game?
No, I don't think I did anything different, but the team definitely did. The energy was high. Everyone was looking forward to that game, and I think everyone played their role. And I was the one that shined the most. But I think it was a team effort, and it was just the energy and the excitement to play Brownsville Bets, and that's it.
And coach, so to go up against Brownsville veterans, and I know you've played them the last 3 years. Last year you held them to 21 also, but they got the best of you guys 21-7. This year you hold them to 21 again, and I know that's a really hard offense to stop. You have one lapse, and Brownsville veterans is in the end zone. So what was it like for you to see your defense really come through and hold them to 21 last year when they were a really good team, and then do it again this year?
I mean, yeah, for us, it's about limiting possessions. So Brownsville veterans, unless they make mistakes, they're going to score. And we were fortunate that our job last year, I think we only gave them 5 possessions. So we intercepted them once, they scored 3 times, and then they took a knee on the final possession. So they got their touchdowns off of the possessions they had. So this game plan was no different. Is how do we play keep away? How do we grind the ball and take time off the clock? Because if we allow them to just go down there and score, and we score or punt, the more possessions they have, the higher those scores going to tally. And so I think this year they got 7 possessions, and they scored 3. They had 3 turnovers, and they punted once, right? So they're gonna score unless they make mistakes. But I was happy with our defense. They play with a lot of heart. Looking back on it, we misaligned like crazy. So we went back and looked at the film, and we were just like, wow, we were high and mighty on Friday night, but Saturday these guys knew that it was a different story once we saw the how we misaligned so many times. And that's a credit to them. When we scouted them against PSJ Memorial, they got into 27 different formations. Wow. So to kind of align yourself to that, and they run the same plays. There's no secret to their plays. They run 4 solid plays. They run more plays, but 4 that they like hang their hat on. But they can run out of 27 different looks. And it's confusing. Regardless of what you do, it's confusing.
Coach, you kind of went in there and beat them at their own game. Over 400 rushing yards. You ran it right down their throat, play after play. I mean, just talk about the game plan leading up to that week, and I guess unleashing Claudio down the middle, like you said, instead of putting him out wide to get double teamed.
We knew we were going to have to establish the run. So looking at their defensive scheme, we kind of, as a coaching staff, got together and we thought, where is it that we can capitalize? And we moved Diego de la Cruz from tackle last year to guard, okay? And we knew that having him at guard allows him to double team with the center, their nose guard. So we felt we could get a big push just because Diego's size. So we felt if we get that push, we could probably run zone right behind him, and we can use him to wall down and then run counter behind him as well, right? So the game plan was trying to establish the run, and like I said, usually we try to do that with RPO and try to use Claudio as a second option. But I already knew that they have a good coaching staff. They had a time to prepare for us. We thought, what if they try to take Claudio away? They're going to put a man with a safety over the top. So if they take away my second option and we can't run the football, there's going to be problems. Yeah. So the consensus was, let's just put Claudio to run the ball. We've done that before, but not feeding him the football 20 whatever plus carries. Yeah. So Claudio, you're going to have to play running back. He's like, okay. And the beauty of it is that Andre Cristiano, our running back, Andre, you're going to have to play fullback. Nobody cared. What I love about this team is that they're not selfish. It was unselfish football. Nobody said why. Why am I not getting the kid? They just knew because that's the game plan. And if it takes him to get 24 carries to win a game, then it's going to take. If it takes next game Andre to get 24 carries, then that's what it's going to be. I told him the same thing. Hey, if you don't get a ball 30 times this Friday, don't complain. He's like, no, I won't. Right? Obviously he wants the ball in his hands, but if we got to decoy him, sometime we're going to do whatever it takes. And we thought that this game plan was going to give us a chance to establish the run, to run behind 76 and to put the ball in Claudio's hands.
And Claudio, man, so I mean, just impact on both sides of the ball. Do you have a favorite? Is it making a big play on offense, making a big hit on defense, forcing a turnover on defense? What gets you going, or is it kind of really just helping your team out however you can?
It's just helping the team. I don't really have a favorite position. I like scoring a lot, but I also like getting a turnover and the excitement of the fans, the team, and getting the team excited. But I don't really have a favorite one. I couldn't really decide between offense or defense.
Coach, I know you're going into your 10 here at Brownsville St. Joseph. Where does this win kind of stack up against the wins that you've had here in the past, being going up against a 6A program here in the Valley that accomplished a significant feat last year in reaching the state semifinals in 5A, and you guys are able to take it to them on their home turf, a big win for you guys here in non-district play. Where does this one rank for you personally, Coach?
It's up there. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's the biggest win because it's a non-district win. It feels like the biggest win because of the magnitude of 6A, inter-city rivalry, what they did last year. But our biggest wins have come out deep in the playoffs. We've been able to knock down teams like Fort Worth Nolan Catholic here at home. We were down 28-6, and we ended up winning the game 38-35 on a last-second field goal. That's a pretty big win. It's up there, though. It's up there with wins like that. It's up there traveling, and we traveled to Houston, and we had to play Lutheran South. They were the district champions of the Houston district, and they had a really solid football program. And we ended up beating them in the last second also, 56-48. So, like, you look at some of those wins, but this one definitely ranks up there. It's a huge win for our program because, like I said, I think it's a story that we have here. It's the story of the Bloodhounds. We are the smallest school, but we want to play. We're like the little brother that just wants a shot to play against the big brother, right?
Yeah.
Like, we just want it. And so, I was very grateful that JC Ramirez and the veterans coaching staff agreed to put us on the schedule because they could have easily said no, right? They could have easily, a lot of teams we asked in the Valley said no. And they were just like, oh, no. Either they didn't think that we'd give them a good game, or they were afraid that if the outcome that happened, that would put a negative light on their program. So they didn't have the guts to do it. JC had the guts to do it. And I told him right after the game, JC, one game, and my teams heard me say it, and that Claudio will be a testament to that. One game doesn't change anything. We play them 9-10 times, they're going to probably beat us 9 times, right? They're just a really solid program. We were ready for them that night. And the ball bounced our way that night. And the turnovers happened that night. And we didn't turn it over that night, right? There was a lot of great things. But the Veterans Memorial Chargers, to me, are still, I can't believe people took them off the ranking. I think just wait till you see them play. They're a really good football program. We were just excited to be able to. I told them right after the game, I said, you ever watch boxing movies? Yes, the boxing movie of the underdog always starts with the champ giving them a shot at the title, or else the story didn't exist. Thank you for giving us a shot at the title, right? Thank you for sharing the field with us and giving us something to better our program with. And I think that hopefully now, we live up to that, and we make a deep run and have a story to share at the end of the season. Not, well, we beat Vets, and then the rest of the season, we were okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned living up to that, Claudio. For you, I mean, you opened at, I think, number 9 on our top 30 player list. I mean, is there any pressure coming into that? I mean, you've done a lot your first couple of years here at St. Joe's. Now, your senior year. Is there any pressure living up to that hype of being one of the top 10 players in the Valley?
Not really. I mean, I just try to do the best, what's best for the team. I just try to do what's best for me. Just trying to help the team and maybe get a good touchdowns here and there. But I don't really feel pressure. I'm just trying to do my best, and I know that I'm better than the guy in front of me every time. So I'm just trying to do whatever I can.
Your thoughts on our ranking? Too low, too high? What do you think?
You don't want to ask him
No,
that.
you don't want to ask me that.
We got him and Diego here. They'll tell you that they're 1 and 2, and they'll fight about who's won.
I think it should, man.
Yeah.
That kind of leads me into the next question I wanted to talk about. Is Diego de la Cruz committed to UTEP to play on the offensive line there? Like you said, moved from tackle to guard, and it's one of the most physical offensive linemen we have here in all of South Texas. And this question is for both of you, being that you got to run behind him this past weekend, and Coach, you've seen his growth over these last few years. What is it like having a guy like Diego on this team who can really set that tone and be physical on the front lines?
Well, we'll start with him.
I mean, it's awesome. I mean, every time I get the ball, I just know just run behind Diego. He's gonna be right there. The hole's gonna be right there. I can just run. He's gonna run through him, and I'm gonna run behind someone. I mean, and also in the locker room, he's a leader. He's a really hardworking guy. He always wants to do what's best for the team. So I think it's awesome having him in the team and having him as a captain. And on the field, he's just throwing guys around and making holes for everyone.
Absolutely.
For me, it makes it easier to game plan, right? When you have a guy like that, utilize him for his strength. I couldn't be happier for Diego. He came in here. This is his 3rd year on our varsity team. And so Diego came in with high hopes. Claudio as well. They have high hopes. They want to play Division I football. We got him committed. My job is to make sure that this guy gets committed before the season ends. I think he has the ability to play at that level. I think that when colleges, see a little bit more film and get a little bit more convinced, I think with one offer, the domino effect will happen, and Claudio will have plenty of offers. That's his goal. He's a hard worker too. He was very humble about Diego right now, but Claudio is also a guy who they put in the work on the off season. They put in the work, and when you guys like that, it builds a different culture in the locker room, right? Like you just see people that are they're 365. They're not here. They don't have any days off. Obviously, here at the school, we can't have them here on a Sunday, but they're out there in their own gym working on a Sunday. Holidays, we're not here, but I know they're out there working out on holidays, and they're doing whatever they can to become just the best athlete possible. And they share that kind of leadership with the rest of the boys. And so it's ignited a culture where a lot of our kids go work out with them too. So now they've built a little cult clan outside of here, and they have their own workout deal and their own places to go do all that stuff. And so that's really helped us. And on a personal note, it's really interesting, the fun fact that you guys may or may not know, right? But Diego's my nephew. And so having Diego here, right, and seeing him do well, and seeing my cousin Ricardo just ear to ear smile, and just seeing a kid's dream come true, right? I think that's very special too for us, and I can't wait to get this guy in that world too. I think that they're deserving, and they work hard, and soon when colleges call, they're going to ask how their work ethic is and what kind of leader they are. And they're not just getting a guy who's good on defensive side, offensive side, as a special teams guy. Today he was out there in practice throwing as a quarterback. So he's an athlete, but more importantly, what you're getting is the heart that's behind the athlete and the leader in the locker room, right? And I think that's very valuable for any college.
You mentioned the culture right now, Coach. I mean, there's a certain swag or certain energy to this team out there. They're loose, like you mentioned earlier. I mean, what's the difference from this team than other teams you've coached in your past 10 years here?
That is that they're loose, is that they're having fun. I think that good teams find a way to make football practice fun. Nobody likes football practice. It's hot. It's terrible. It is what it is, right? You try to make it as fun as possible. But when these guys get in their rhythm and they're joking and they're laughing, but they know how to put work and play aside. They know what it's like to know, hey, my responsibility, my duty, what I have to do. But the common theme, this is my 10th year here, and I've had some really stellar teams. and some not so good ones, right? It happens in a tenure of a decade. But the common theme behind that is you have great leaders, hard work ethic, but they make things fun, right? And I think that what I like is that our team loves to have fun. And for them, everything's fun. Hitting is fun. The heat is fun. Running sprints, they make it fun. Even though it's not. They're like, come on, man, this. And they're mocking each other. And you're slow, and you're this, and you're that. But everything about it is competitive, and everything's fun. I think that to me has been kind of when you know you've got a good squad, because that means that they're united, right?
Absolutely. And Claudio, I know, so that win against Brownsville Veterans in the rearview, man, looking forward to the rest of the season. You guys got Carroll Friday night. Just your thoughts on what you want to see from your team as you move forward off that win, and how do you not kind of get, like you said, or you mentioned earlier, kind of looking back in the past and looking ahead?
I mean, just trying to get better, like clean up mistakes. Carroll's still a non-district, so it's not really our main goal. We're just preparing for TAPS. But just clean up mistakes, getting more physical, getting more in condition. I mean, get better in attacking the ball, 11 hats on the ball. Just everyone has to do their job. And if we do that, we're going to continue to get better throughout the season, and we're going to be ready for TAPS.
Coach, for you, how do you manage those, I guess, expectations and that added pressure now? Obviously you beat a team like St. Joe's. The people start talking, they want to see more. How do you manage that expectation locker? Or do you even have to say anything, especially with so much senior leadership this year?
No, I mean, the only thing I told them is, our goal's always been to be 1-0. And we have a saying here, and it's plan A is 1-0, and there is no plan B. So regardless of what we did last week, the plan's 1-0. And so if we keep a 1-0 mentality and we look at what we have in front of us right now, and the right now is Carroll, right? It doesn't matter what happened last week. It doesn't matter who we have in 3 weeks. It's, can we be 1-0 Friday night? And I think that if we do that, our job, and they're good at that. The kids are good. They understand, and we're not shying away from. I'm a very transparent coach with them. I tell them the truth. I go, hey, everything you've built can die with a loss on Friday. Is that pressure? No. Because what was our goal? 1-0. So let's just play bloodhound football and do what we got to do here at home, and we're going to be okay, right? It's not going to be easy. Carroll's not coming down here to lay down. They're not coming here. They're coming here to. They're loading buses with a whole different plan on making sure that they come and that they upset a home team on a high. Right? That's what I would be doing if I was their coach. Hey, these guys are high and mighty right now. Let's take advantage of them. And so we talk about that. I go, and if you are high and mighty, get ready for an upset. Right? But if we stick to just our job and everything else, and I think the last thing I'll tell you, and Claudio will tell you, is I'm a very non-emotional coach. And what I mean by that is I don't ride a roller coaster. I don't go on highs and lows. I'm a very even guy. I stay steady. We score, everybody gets mad. How come you don't celebrate? We turn over the ball. How come you don't throw a headset? Right? Because I know that we're going to score and we're going to make turnovers. It's football. Good things and bad things are going to happen. How come you don't get ref threw a flag, didn't throw a flag? Why aren't you losing your mind? Well, because I'm worried about the next play. Football's worried about the next play. It's not the one that happened. It's the one that's about to happen. The same thing goes week in and week out. It's not about veterans. It's now about Carroll, right? But if you still live on the high of veterans, you're going to get your butt whooped against Carroll.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, that's the belief I have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I understood. Ivan, did you have some quick hitters?
Yes,
What
just
do you guys-
so the fans can get to know you a little better. I guess I'll
Cool.
start with you, Claudio. I
Yep.
mean, pregame rituals. Any pregame rituals for you?
No, not really. I just log in.
What about playlists? Any songs on rotation right now?
Tell them why you don't have a pregame playlist.
Because you don't like it.
No. What do I do? The first thing you do when you show up to the field house? What do I take from everybody?
Oh, they take our phones, so we can have our phones at least 4 hours before the game, so we can
Okay.
take a little nap, just log in
Again, there you
and
go.
eat, and just be ready without distractions.
Gotcha.
NFL comparison to yourself. Who do you compare yourself to?
I don't know.
Coach,
Probably
would you compare
Divo
him?
Samuel.
Divo Samuel?
He, like, does it all.
That's a good one.
Does it both.
Yeah, I mean, but
I'm
I
a
don't know.
Longhorn, so I'd say Xavier Worthy.
Oh,
I
there
like
you
that
go.
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
two tutties to start this
yeah.
career. Hey.
And being coach, you talked about being a Longhorn fan. Football season, college football, NFL in full swing. You just talked about being a Longhorn fan, but who are you guys watching on Saturdays and Sundays? Who are you guys rooting for?
He's terrible. Don't ask him.
Oh, I'm a Steelers fan.
Steelers,
Ooh.
Pittsburgh. Okay.
Okay.
Absolutely, it's not that team.
What about
Nice.
college?
I really like Penn State.
Okay.
Because it's right there at Pittsburgh, Penn State.
Yeah.
But I also like the Longhorns.
Okay.
So I'm
Coach?
College Longhorns, and
oh no.
I have been a Cowboy fan since I've been a kid, and I've said a million times after certain seasons that I'm done. And last season was the season that I said I'm really done. And so, at least, just straightforward, I didn't watch the Cowboys play this week. I don't really know much about. I didn't watch any preseason games, so I'm not really watching it. I'm not watching NFL.
Boycotting.
Fake fan. Fake fan.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, as a Cowboy fan, maybe not watching them on Sundays is better for your mental and physical health.
That's what I'm saying. I was happy they won. I'm
Yeah.
not a hater,
Yeah.
but I'm just, planning the carne asada with a fan. like, you know what? I'd rather turn on the Bloodhounds, figure out how we can get better. I'd rather turn on Corpus Christi Carroll, figure out how we could try to stop them or score touchdowns on them, and worry about the things under my control, because I don't control the Dallas Cowboys, but they definitely control my blood pressure.
Last question, guys. Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Steelers.
I don't care.
Well, Coach Claudio, appreciate you guys at the time, having us out here. Congratulations again on that huge win, and best of luck the rest of the year. We're looking forward to seeing what y'all pull off this year, man.
Well, I just want to thank you guys for being here. I know that there's often times that we understand where we're at. We're in a district with teams that are not in the valley. So there's a lot of valley people who don't know much about St. Joe, right? And we're a small school that was playing, 3A and 4A ball clubs. So most of the attention, obviously, you get it in 5A, 6A ball. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I just want to appreciate you guys coming down here, not forgetting the Bloodhounds, right? I think, obviously he was on a big stage, but we're here. We're a small school. We're trying to play against big teams. We got Carroll here. We're going to play against Economides. We're going to play La Feria and PI, which are two big storied programs in their respect. But we know that our district is now, go play San Antonio, somewhere else, and we get lost in the mix. And that's okay. We know who we are. But thank you for reporting, not just us. I see your shows, the rankings. I mean, you make things relevant for kids. Like I love the top 30 because I love hearing these guys. Oh, I got number 9. I should have been this, right? But what it does is it gives kids something to look forward to. I hear my younger kids, I want to be on that top 30. What does it take to be in the top 30, right? You guys come out with your ranking. Well, how do we get up there? How do we maintain up there? How do we get ranked? How do we get this? How do I get an All Valley Award? How do I do, right? Everything that you guys do as reporters actually does feed into the culture of kids and what we're trying to create as a Rio Grande Valley. So I just wanted to thank you guys for your work. I think it's it's more than you think. You think you're just reporting, but you're also creating a hope and a culture for our community.
We appreciate the kind words, Coach. And it's programs like you and coaches like you and kids like Claudio and the guys that you got in that locker room that make it fun for us. And we love to, we're Valley guys. We love to shine a light on the Rio Grande Valley. And if people didn't know that Brownsville St. Joseph could play some football, I think they know now after last week. So, and there's some dogs on this team, and it's been a joy to see you guys these last few years take those steps forward and ultimately kind of pay off with a big win this past weekend. But yeah, we're still looking forward to big things ahead, that everything that you guys got in store for us. So thank you guys for having us and welcoming us with open doors, man. And just congratulations to you guys on all the success, and looking forward to everything going forward, Coach.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, that was Claudio Torres and Tino Villarreal. Congratulations against the Bloodhounds for a huge win, and also congrats to Coach Tino Villarreal. 65 wins in his career there at St. Joe's, over 10 years. That's impressive in its own, and it's only up for here for that team, man. And that brings us over to our power rankings, where we'll pick up right with them. They continue at number 1 in our sub 5A power ranking, and honestly, they probably could be in our top 10 if we put the whole list together for the whole valley. And
Yeah.
so what else can you tell us about these other teams in our sub 5A top 4 this week?
Yeah, Brownsville St. Joseph proved they can play with the best the Valley has to offer. You know what I mean? And I don't think anybody should be surprised about that. This Brownsville St. Joseph team is for real, and we had them number 1 coming into the season. Kind of took some flack for that, but I mean, hey man, we know how we know the ballers that these guys have, man, and then they showed it Friday night. So congratulations to them, holding on to the number 1 spot in the sub 5A top 4. Port Isabel, I mean, we know how good Coach Tony V and the Tarpons are. They're 2-0. They stay in at number 2. Then we got Santa Rosa and Santa Maria at number 3 and 4 at both at 2-0, as Rio Hondo drops out after suffering that overtime loss against Port Isabel. So not much movement there at the sub 5A level. In the Coastal Bend top 4, I mean, Corpus Christi Miller, they continue to roll. They're 2-0. They remain number 1 in our rankings. Flower Bluff remains number 2 after picking up a big win over San Antonio Marshall last week. And then Ivan, we had a couple of us square off with Cal Allen and Alice kind of going head to head last week, with Cal Allen picking up a big win there. And then to round out the Coastal Bend top 4, that takes us to Corpus Christi Veteran and Tolosa Midway tied at 4. Midway coming off a big win, and Corpus Christi Veterans bounces back in a big way against Carroll. So just your thoughts on the Coastal Bend top 4 and how we've seen a few movement, and a few of these head-to-head matchups have resulted in some shake-up there at Coastal Bend.
Yeah, I think Miller and Flower Bluff has established themselves as the top 2 teams in that area. But I mean, teams like Cal Allen over at the 5A D2 level, I think, or are they 4A?
For 4A D1.
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
they're competitors down there. And Corpus Christi Vets, they suffered that week 1 loss when they played Miller, but they look like they're ready to bounce back. And Tolosa Midway, they got some good players over there. Damon Figueroa at running back has over, I think, almost 600 yards, 500 yards in his first 2 games.
Yeah, had a crazy.
So they got some ballers out there. So it's a lot of good teams out in the Coastal Bend, a lot of good players. So but Miller, Flower Bluff definitely established themselves as the top dogs there in that area.
Yeah, and that leads us into the RGVsports.com 5A, 6A top 10 teams. And Ivan, the number 1 team stays the number 1 team. PSG North beats the last week's number 3 team, PSG High. So PSG North, I mean, they still got ballers everywhere, man. I know. Yeah, so this PSG North team is still doing PSG North things. They're still a power, and it remains. They are much younger than they have been. So, it remains to be seen. When will this PSG North team stumble? I mean, 22 straight regular season wins, tough for anybody to do at any level, and they're looking to make it 23 straight here coming up this week, Ivan. And that takes us into some movements, Ivan, here with our next few spots, and that takes us to 32-6A for our numbers 2 and number 3 teams.
Yeah, man. I mean, Harlingen High continues to prove why they're one of the top programs in the valley. Noah Huerta's there spearheading that offense. They can get it done through the ground. And then that defense, man, it's tough.
Yeah.
You might get a couple yards here and there, but they're kind of bend, don't break. And, you better not run into Sterling Tomlin there in the middle, because he'll lay the wood there, man. So
yeah, you're going to wake up feeling like you were in a car
accident. Exactly,
man.
They got some ballers on defense. Julius Garza, that defensive line's got Jacob Ortiz, Michael Orozco, 2 disruptors up front, and just a solid defense. They have some slip-ups here and there. I think the biggest question mark right now for Harlingen is going to be that quarterback position. And their youth kind of showed, or the inexperience kind of showed last week in South. I think they only completed 2 passes. Their one that went for a touchdown was on a screen pass. So I think the biggest thing is who's going to step up there at that court. You got senior Jonas Serna, you got freshman Hassan Woolery. They both made plays, early on, but they also shown their struggles. So they can figure that out. This Harlingen High team has the sky's the limit for this team. And then moving on to number 3, a team that doesn't have any questions at quarterback. You got the Los Fresnos Falcons,
Yeah.
who have put up some impressive wins to start the season, over 40 points both weeks, I believe.
Yep.
You know, Robert Pineda there at quarterback, third-year starter. He's showing he's legit, man. I mean, he's established himself for the past 2 years as a dual threat. He's getting it done through the air and on the ground. But I think I've been most impressed with that defense. You know, Cade Stoneball's been playing with, you know, like a demon out there. He had 2 interceptions. He's on the top of the team in tackles. He's a little bit of everything there. He had a blocked field goal for a touchdown a couple weeks ago.
Special teams getting
So
it done.
he just does it everywhere. I think this Los Fresnos team has a chance to win that district after finishing 4th the past 3 years.
Yeah,
So
that's gonna be a fun one, man.
yeah, it is, man. That
32-16.
district, I think it's pretty wide open. And Los Fresnos, you know, like I mentioned in our first podcast, they're a dark horse for me in that district to win that district just because of that experience they bring back. So they move up 2 spots from number 5 to number 3. And that takes us to our number 4 team, a team that, you know, has a new quarterback, new coach, but they're rolling early on.
Yeah, Edinburgh Bella 2-0 overall. They move up 2 spots from number 6 to number 4, and yeah, they're starting to put that offense together, man. They got some new pieces, like we said, new coaching staff, new things to learn, and they look like they're learning pretty quick there in week 2. That they roll past the Bobcats in a rivalry game to continue their dominance over the other Edinburgh schools, and so Edinburgh Bella comes in at number 4. We'll talk about them later because we got a heavyweight matchup coming up this week featuring 2 of the teams we just discussed right now. So that takes us into our number 5 team. I'm in PSA High. I mean, they dropped from number 3 to number 5. Yeah, they lost, but they lost 21-11 against PSG North, the top team here in the Valley. It's a rivalry game. They played them close. They gave them hell. So I mean, this PSG High team is still just one of the top teams here in the Valley, and I mean, it's hard to knock them when you used to a good squad.
They're still learning too. You got to realize, new quarterback.
Yeah.
It's going to happen, especially when you play a defense like PSG North out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So not much to knock the Bears on, man. The Bears are still a stacked squad. They're going to put up numbers, and they're going to push for that 31-6A district title. So looking forward to seeing PSG High moving on. And at number 6, the McAllen Memorial Mustangs, as we mentioned earlier, pick up that big win over Wesco High, prove to the 2-0 overall. So they come in at number 6. Brownsville Veterans, they slide from number 2 to number 7. I mean, they went toe to toe with Brownsville St. Joseph, man. We're not gonna not knock you out of the top. This Brownsville Veterans team still as good as it gets here in the Valley.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, one loss doesn't define you, and so we still expect this Brownsville Veterans team to be as good as it gets. And like we said, Ivan, they're right there with the Harlingtons and Los Fresnos when you look at how that 32-6A picture is going to shake up. So your thoughts on Brownsville Veterans kind of sliding a little bit following a loss that may have surprised some people.
And I think their inexperience did show a little against St. Joe's. I think, you know, they lose some key players that are now playing at the next level. It's not like they lost, you know, a contributor. They lost college level guys. So, you know, it is starting to show a little bit. I think they'll find their footing. I'm not worried about them in the long run. You got experience at quarterback. You know, Cesar Belmontes at fullback was looking good out there. 2 back-to-back 100-yard games there. And, you know, they got some weapons too. The Trevelyan brothers, Calvin and Alvin, both bring something to the table. But I mean, they're young, and we expected a little bit of bumps here and there. But I think they'll learn quickly. And you know, Coach JC Ramirez is a heck of a coach. He's going to have those guys ready.
Yeah.
So not much to knock them on. I mean, it is a tough loss, but I'm sure they'll bounce back, you know, rather quickly.
Absolutely.
And that takes us to our number 8 team, a team that, you know, we talked about a little earlier, you know, a team that started 2-0 this year, and they look like a different squad this year. That defense has been electric. That's the head coach Elsa Yellow Jackets, who, you know, they've put up, I mean, had 6 forced turnovers this last game against Mission Vets. I'm not too sure how many they have on the season, but that defense has been spearheading, and their offense is, you know, it's progress. I think it needs some work. They have made some plays here and there, but that defense has been the backbone of that team. As expected, I think the 9 starters coming back on defense. And, you know, when I talked to Matt Connell, their linebacker, obviously, he said they didn't want to allow more than 2 touchdowns this year. I think they might have already done that, but that doesn't take away from how impressive this defense has been to start the year.
Yeah, Ed Couch just a really impressive start. I mean, yeah, that Thunder defense, man. I mean, shoot, yeah, we knew with that they return playmakers on every level of their defense, and you can see they have experience. They got leadership on the defense. And when you look at the offensive side with Elijah at quarterback, I mean, they got returners, they got experience, guys that have taken their lumps, and then they get back up and move on, man. And now here they are, 2-0 to start this season. So shout out Ed Couch coming in at number 8 in the RGV Sports 5A 6A top 10, and that takes us to number 9. We just talked about how tough this Ed Couch Elsa team is, and this number 9 team is just as tough, man. Westaco East Wildcats, Coach Berget and company. I mean, I don't think anybody should be surprised at the success. I mean, this program has sustained success over well over a decade. So Westaco East, they're 2-0 overall. They win a big one last week, and I've just been just really impressed with Westaco East. Last week, Margarito Pompa over 200 rushing yards. Freshman Malachi Rodriguez over 100 rushing yards. So when you got those two guys working like that, it's just Westaco East is going to be hard to stop, especially when they're running right at you. So yeah, big start for Westaco East here at number 9 in the RGV Sports Top 10, Ivan. And then that takes us to 2 teams tied for the 10th spot. Brownsville Lopez at number 10 and the Harlingen South Hawks. Ivan, your thoughts on those 2 teams rounding out the top 10?
You know, Lopez, as you know, Coach Sean Tarantola took over. I believe this is his 3rd year at the helm, and this is their best start since 2017 when they won 7 straight. They're off to a 2-0 start. I think they had only won 1 game each of the last 2 years, so they already tied their win total from the last 2 years combined. And I think they got some playmakers there. It took some time for them to get there, but you got a quarterback in Guadalupe Ramirez, 7 touchdowns and 1 interception to start the year. You know, Eddie Slovak probably shouldn't have left him off the top 30 list now looking back. He definitely deserves to be there, and he's proven that he's one of our top 30 players in the Valley.
Yeah, they got 3 studs on offense.
Oh, and Gabriel Rios, their receiver. I mean, they got that offense that can pretty much go toe-to-toe with anyone in the Valley.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So I think Tarantola's done a good job of turning that program around, and they've earned their spot here in our top 10 poll.
Yeah, and then that takes us to the team tied with Brownsville Lopez at number 10, Harlingen South Hawks. I mean, they were number 8 last week. They go down swinging against Harlingen High, 29-24 in the Bird Bowl. I mean, they gave them hell. They were in it late, had a chance to, you know what I mean, maybe come back. They needed a onside kick here and there, but yeah, I mean, Harlingen South. I mean, shoot, they hung close with Harlingen High, and that's good enough for us, man. Shoot, we know how good this Harlingen South team is, both offensively, defensively. Quarterbacks starting to put it together and kind of complement each other, and then just when Dylan and I is not having an impact at quarterback, he's having an impact at receiver. So yeah, so just really impressed with this Harlingen South team. Although they dropped to 1-1, and they round out our top 10 here at the 5A 6A level at rgvsports.com. So with the week 3 rankings in the books, Ivan, or our rankings leading into week 3, we're going to go ahead and take a look and break down some of these week 3 matchups. And man, as we alluded to earlier, Ivan, we got a heavyweight matchup, a big time matchup, must see matchup between the Edinburgh Vela Sabercats and Harlingen High Cardinals in the rgvsports.com game of the week.
Yeah, man, it's a number 3 versus number 2 there at Bogus Stadium in Harlingen. That's this Friday at 7, and it's Harlingen's 3rd straight game at Bogus to start the season. You know, last week they were technically away against Harlingen South, but still they were playing in their home court. So I think that's an advantage for Harlingen because that crowd gets rowdy there. But it should be a good one, man. You got 2 of the top running backs in the Valley so far, in Noah Huerta and Jonathan Flores. Noah Huerta for Harlingen High has over 350 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. Jonathan Flores, you know, over 330 yards and 4 touchdowns. And you know, the offense over at Vela too. You got Jeffrey Lefevre. He's starting to find his groove. There 384 passing yards and 5 touchdowns through 2 weeks. And June Garza is looking like his favorite target right now. 206 yards, 3 touchdowns. And you got 2 high-powered offenses, or 2 offenses filled with playmakers there, and going toe-to-toe. But I think the defense is probably going to be the deciding factor there. Like we talked about a little bit earlier, Harlingen's got that stout defense, that bend don't break. Can they slow down Jeffrey Lefevre and Jonathan Flores, keep them out of the end zone, and not get into a shootout? And you know, and for the Sabercats, can they stop Noah Huerta, who's, you know, last 2 weeks, week 1 he takes his first carry 63 yards for a touchdown. Week 2, his first carry goes all the way down. You know, I think 51 yards, almost breaks it for a touchdown. Scores the next play, so I mean 2 plays to score on his 2nd game, and he just looks more comfortable back there in the backfield in his 2nd year as a starter there. It's gonna be a good one, man. I think fireworks should fly. You know, just a little side note: Harlingen High is 0-2 against Vela. They never beat them. You know, they lost them in the playoffs a couple years back, and they lost them in the regular season in a non-district game about 3 years ago. So if Harlingen High can get the win in their first win against the Sabercats, and that's, you know, can't miss game there for sure. You know, number 2 and number 3 going head to head in the RGV Sports Game of the Week this Friday at 7 p.m.
Yeah, that's a good one going down there in Harlingen. Make sure to tune into that one. And Ivan, I mean, we got a 19 district here in the Valley with 15-5A D1. So that means some teams are starting district action this week here in week 3. And just to run through these games quickly, we just touched on Harlingen South and just what we think of them and how our thoughts on them as just a balanced team with a good offense, good defense, and kind of putting things together, finding that right mix. Well, they open up District 15-5A D1 on the road against Flower Bluff. That Flower Bluff is just a good squad. Quarterback Jaden Palacios, who's committed to play football and baseball at UTRGV. Pretty cool there. So Harlingen South will get a good look up close and personal with this to see what the Hornets look like. Flower Bluff should be considered one of the favorites there in that district. So Harlingen South has their work cut out for them here to kick off 15-5A D1 action. Then to run through the other games starting this week, they're in 15-5A D2. Corpus Christi Veterans at Brownsville Rivera. Donna High at Wesco East. That one is Thursday, 7 p.m. at Bobby Lackey Stadium. I will be there bringing you coverage of that one to see the Wildcats. Then we got PSG North at Donna North. So 15-5A D1 action starts this week, Ivan. And now games matter. Non-district, the result, you want to win, but those non-district losses aren't going to make or break your season. Now we get into district play, and every game counts, especially in a 19 district,
Oh, yeah.
to where it's just you mix the coastal bend powers with some of the valley powers, and now all hell's about to break loose, right? That's so we'll see what goes on. And 15-5A D1, definitely one to watch here in the valley. Ivan, week 3 action across the valley. Just your thoughts on maybe a matchup or two that catch your eye here as we launch into week 3.
I mean, a big one is this Thursday at 7 p.m. at La Jolla ISD Stadium. Our number 10 team, or one of the number 10 teams in our rankings, Brownsville Lopez, travels to La Jolla to take on La Jolla Palmview, another 2-0 team. So 2 undefeated teams going head-to-head. Lopez trying to build off that 2-0 start, go to 3-0. You know, that would be 3 times the wins that they had last year. So it's a big game for Lopez. I think it'll further establish them as a premier team this year here in the Valley. You know? And we mentioned the weapons already. You know, Gabriel Rios, Guadalupe Ramirez, Eddie Slovak. But Palmview's they're no slouch. They can run the ball. They got some athletes out there at Palmview, so it's not going to be a walk in the park for them. I think it's going to be their biggest test thus far. The win there, though, can just further establish them, like I said, as one of the top teams here in the Valley this year.
Yeah, it's the Lobos Bowl.
There you go, the Lobos Bowl.
Lobos.
Only one top Lobo.
Only one of them will be 3-0 after this week. So
yes, sir.
that should be a good one there for your Thursday, man.
Yeah, and then Friday, I mean, it's a Coastal Bend game that's, I think a lot of people want to watch. It's Corpus Christi Miller taking on DeSoto over at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. 2 high-powered offenses. DeSoto is coming off that loss to North Crowley earlier last week. But you got 2 high-powered offenses going head-to-head. Miller scored 97 points in their first 2 games. That'll be their first. It's going to be their biggest test today. But I think they scheduled a tough non-district schedule for a reason. They're aiming for that state title this year. I think this will be a good benchmark to see where they're at, especially against a state-ranked power like DeSoto. It's an exciting one for everyone to watch for sure.
Yeah, it should be a good one, man. Looking forward to seeing that one. 2 of the top teams there in the 5-11 DeSoto. We know just how good they are, man. So Mission High, Sharyland High here in week 3. That's a good non-district matchup. City of Mission will be going head-to-head there at Richard Thompson Stadium in Mission Friday night. Good quarterback matchup on our hands. I have Diego Salinas of the Eagles, Calvin Harris of the Rattlers, who has come on and been really impressive to start this season for the Rattlers. So that's a matchup to watch, and we got some good playmakers on offense as well in that one with Thomas Aparicio for Mission and Santiago Longoria, who had a really big game here in week 2 for the Rattlers. So really looking forward to that one here in week 3. Here as we move on through the season. Ivan, any other things that catch your eye, or anything else that you want to kind of leave us with?
Yeah, man, that 16-5A D2 district. I think at first glance people were like, oh, it's 3 Brownsville schools. You got Southwest, Edcouch. Maybe first glance, oh, it's kind of weak. Lopez, Pace, Edcouch, all undefeated, and they got legit playmakers.
Yeah.
Pace has got that running back, Adrian Salcedo, in the top 5 in the Valley in rushing. Lopez has their own running back of their own, Eddie Slovak and Edcouch. We talked about them and their defense.
Yeah.
It's going to be a race to the finish in that district, I think. And those 3 teams are establishing themselves early on. And teams that maybe a lot of people didn't have high expectations for coming into this year, but They're earning their money's worth there.
Yeah, and then we also got to give love to PSG Southwest who beat Valley View
That's
on
true.
a last second kind of 40-yard kind of Hail Mary there as time expired to end up on the right side of that one against Valley View. So congratulations to PSG Southwest and for getting that one and getting in the win column. So like you said, Ivan, that district, man, it's wide open, man. Who's gonna take that thing, grab the bull by the horns and run with it, man. So we'll see as that one goes there. District 16 5A D2 play starts in a few weeks. And Ivan, before we close this thing, we both had a chance to witness history here in the Rio Grande Valley with UTRGV football holding its first open practice, open to the public there Monday night at Richard R. Flores Stadium in Edinburgh. And I mean, it was just a really cool moment to see this thing that has been years in the making come together. And now the Valley gets their first look at them. There are close to 2,500 people there, more than 2,500 people if you include the cheerleaders, the band, the media, everybody, the drill team, dance team, the city official, everybody there. It was awesome to see just everybody come out for that. Ivan, just your thoughts on what Monday was like seeing UTRG football hold their first practice.
I think it just makes it that much more real. You see the helmets, you see the pads come on, you see kids that a lot of these, people that came out to watch saw them play here locally. I think that's one of the cooler things about it is like you saw kids like, Makai Blue from MMA, you saw Ada Aparicio there at quarterback, Fabian Garcia from San Benito at running back, so see these guys out there donning the colors that are going to represent the Valley.
Yeah.
Less than a year now, man. I mean, we're less than 365 days away from that first game, so it just made it more real. It brings up the excitement. I think the crowd was into it. You saw them during 7-on-7 and during those live action. They were excited, and I think it's only going to keep building the hype from there.
Yeah, it's really cool. The current UTRGV roster for this 2024-25 practice season currently has 18 Rio Grande Valley high school football products. So that's really cool to see, and they range from La Jolla to Brownsville to just all across the valley. So yeah, I mean it was just a really cool experience just to witness and get to see UTRGV football or UTRGV building this thing from the ground up. Coach Bush and his staff rounded out. Seeing them work with these kids, get these kids into the first class, making history here, and now they march forward to this practice season. And like as you said, Ivan, in 1 year from now, we'll be catching UTRGV football in action, spending our Saturdays with them to see Division I football here in the Rio Grande Valley. So just really cool stuff going on here in the RGV, and we love our football here in the Rio Grande Valley. So with that said, guys. Week 2 is in the books. We broke down week 3 and gave you just a quick preview of what to look forward to this week. Some big games going on. RGV Sports Game of the Week, Edinburgh Vela, Harlingen High, just a big one. Ivan, anything you'd like to leave the people with?
Just make sure to go to our website. We do have updated stats, standings for everyone that's been reported. You can check out where your favorite players are as far as ranking. And be sure to follow us along on all social media as we bring you all the best coverage here in the RGV.
Yeah, everything football at rgvsports.com or football.rgvsports.com. And you can catch everything valley-wide stats, leaders, passing, rushing, receiving, tackles, interception.
Got the special teams on there.
Special teams love. We didn't forget about you, man. You guys are special for a reason. We got love for you. But no, man, just visit rgvsports.com, hit the football tab, check out the standings, check out our stat leaders, and coverage valley-wide, man. It's just a really cool thing we got going on here at rgvsports.com, shining a light on football here in the Rio Grande Valley. So just thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the rgvsports.com football podcast. I am Bryan Ramos.
I'm Ivan Palacios.
Thank you guys for joining us. We'll catch you next week.